High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We've got X. It's Revening's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday Revenue Party, people. We've got our hot topics and our hot guests that we're going to be getting into. And of course, if you're in the comments, let us know, or if you're lurking here on the show, let us know by leaving a comment. We've got Dean here. What's up, Dean? It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. He's the potato guy. Share your potato story if you're up for it, Dean. We'd love to put it in the comments for everyone to hear. And everyone else, just let us know, where are you tuning in from? What is it that you do? We want to make this conversation relevant for you. We've got two really great guests and some awesome topics. So let's get into it. But, you know, before we do, I've got to mention a few things. We've got High Level, of course. We are white labeling it here at Revening. And so we've got app.revening.com, but really it's High Level under the hood, an agency, CRM, and marketing automation platform. Literally only $97 a month, and you get 3 accounts with it, with all the bells and whistles. You can set your clients up and yourself up. We use it ourselves with marketing automation. You have email, you've got text message, everything that you need to set your marketing team up with success, as well as your sales team with CRM. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. Hey, Marissa, she is in the comments. You can scan that QR code if you want to try it out for 30 days, and you don't have to be an agency. You could just be curious and want, you know, a budget-friendly CRM and marketing automation platform. I think Dean and Marissa have both used it on app.revening.com, who are here in the chat, which that is awesome. I need to follow up with both of you about that. But anyway, yeah, let me mention another one. We've got StreamYard, which is what we're streaming from tonight. And we really like it. We not only go live ourselves, we help other businesses go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all the platforms. And we can do that right here on StreamYard. And we can be super creative with our overlays. You see, I got these little green things here. You can put it on top with a transparent background. And, you know, also, like, if I really wanted to, I could do a few things. I have a black background, but you know, we could have something else back there if we wanted to, but I like to keep it simple on Wednesday. And, you know, then we have the intro video and all the fun stuff we do, the comments. It's all very StreamYard. So try out StreamYard. You may not need help going live. You may just want to go live yourself. So here's my affiliate link. Go ahead and scan it. And if you do, let me know. Send me a DM on LinkedIn. I'd be glad to help you out. But, you know, if you want help finding guests and setting up a real show, then go to reveting.com and then we'd love to talk to you about that as well. But we are going to be getting into it. So welcome to the show to our guests. We've got Charlie Sells and Jeff Chen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we get into these really great topics that we have, could you both just tell us a little bit about you? Everyone can go, search you on LinkedIn and see your resume there, but what makes you human? So could you both tell us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now, starting with you, Charlie?
Oh, sure. I'll happily break the ice here. So I'm pretty simple. I'm Tennessee born, Tennessee bred, and when I die, I'll be Tennessee dead. I've lived in Tennessee for most of my life and have been in Nashville for about the last 10 years with my wife and 2 kids. I've had quite a journey since then. I've lived all over the South, and man, I absolutely love what I get to do with business owners and leaders in branding and marketing. So I've always had a bend and a penchant for communicating ideas clearly. I can remember being in like the 2nd or 3rd grade, getting up on stage, feeling almost no nervousness at all, and absolutely loving, just conveying information in creative and new ways. And so that kind of followed me throughout life. Went to school for marketing, got a degree in marketing and logistics, and then in a small turn of events, became a youth pastor for 10 years. But when you work on a church staff, you find out very quickly that everybody who knows that you do business stuff feeds you all of the business stuff. So I got to do websites and newsletters and marketing and social media everywhere I was. And then about 7 years ago, went and worked for a guy here in Tennessee named Dave Ramsey, cut my teeth as a copywriter and a content strategist there. And I did one little stint at an agency. And now I work with small business owners and leaders to reduce or completely eliminate confusion and navigate complexity so that they have better positioning and that at the end of the day, their brand is set up to win and they have a strategy that they actually understand. In my free time, you can tell I love sports. I've got some vinyl records down here. I'm a little bit of a collector, and I had to slow down on that for a period of time. Otherwise, the entire shelves would have been filled with that. But man, we're loving life right now. We got kids who play baseball and soccer, and we're really excited for this season of life, and specifically for me, this season of business has been really, really fun.
How fun. I totally hear you there too. I've got 2 kids and summer camp time and, all the things. 4th of July was really fun. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing that. I love your background, by the way. It's super colorful.
Thank you.
I'm just going to show everyone real quick. You've got all sorts of things back there. There's colorful books in rainbow style. You got some gloves and a typewriter, so eclectic. Super interesting. Lots of stories there to be told, I'm sure.
I would love to say that I'm responsible for it, but I just collect all the stuff and I let my wife put it in a presentable way. So she gets all of the decorating credit. I just get to point at stuff. So this is my, one of my clients just released this book a few months ago called The Core. It's a great leadership book. If you want to catch it, my wife is right over my left shoulder. And then, other random things that I could point out, but gotta have some love for the family, and of course America's native spirit, a little bourbon Easter egg up there as well.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And let's move over to you, Jeff. I'm going to put the 2-minute clock up. Could you fill that space and tell us your full life story?
Yeah. Oh, tough act to follow. Charlie did a perfect 2 minutes. So I'm originally born in Taiwan. And then my family moved to Hong Kong, study high school there. And then I did university BA in animation production in London. And then after that, I moved back to Hong Kong and then did a master's in journalism. And I did that 2 years. And then the second year, I started also doing an MFA in game and interactive design in Savannah College of Art and Design. So I would literally be in the morning, doing game design, interactive system, information architecture stuff, during the day. And then in the afternoon, go and film the protests for Bloomberg, South China Morning Post, Al Jazeera, and then getting tear gas. Fun times. And then after that, I went and started working so at the same time, I was freelancing as well. A lot of journalism work and video production. And then I went to work in a creative agency, working with like multinational brands like HSBC, Disney, Chanel, like of those. And then back in like early 2020, we decided to move back to the UK. So I'm based in London now. And then I started my business, Odyssey Film, working with brands, telling their stories. And then in 2023, I decided to do a course at Oxford, artificial intelligence course. And, that back then there was only like kind of ChatGPT that was like talk the town, right? Like, Will Smith eating spaghetti is still like, wasn't very good. And then now, the entire game has changed. And then I sort of, got really deep into it. And then, so now my main focus is a human AI partnership strategist. So I help organizations and brands to find the best way to work with AI, but like it sticks instead of,
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, that's awesome. Then we've got an old AI veteran here in Jeff. So thanks for being here, Jeff, to lead us through some of these topics, because this episode title is Building Trust and Clarity in the Age of Human AI Marketing. So with that, let's just dive right into our topics, which our first one is all about clarity. Charlie, you are running a company that's all about clarity. But clarity as a discipline, not a destination. Can you kick us off on that, Charlie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is what I love to talk about all day long. Some of it sounds like a simpleton being like, if it's not clear to me, I don't know that it's going to be clear to anybody else. And so, what started out as kind of a little toss away line that I had a former manager leader say to me was like, hey, I think your job is just to drive for clarity over everything. This is when all I was doing was writing copy. But that really set me on a trajectory to put clarity at the center of what I do now. And so my business is actually called Clarity Over Everything. So it became kind of a mantra, and I had to pick a business name when I jumped out on my own, and I was like, okay, let's just go with that. But now that's kind of morphed into not just a framework, but it's also morphed into how I do what I do in a lot of different ways. And so my biggest thing when I talk to business owners is that, and really every time I talk about clarity, is I think we just treat it the wrong way, and we have for a very long time. We treat clarity as a destination or this one-time event. Anybody who has started a business has had a moment of clarity where they thought, this is the thing that I have to do, or I want to do, or this idea is good enough that I need to run with it. And then oftentimes we start running with it and we never revisit the mission, the vision, the purpose, the why, the what, and everything that goes into that. And over time, we wind up with a pile of tactics. We wind up with stuff that we do. And sometimes it makes sense, but oftentimes it doesn't. There's no strategy. There's no intentionality behind it. And then we go back on that quest for clarity. What is the tool that I must have in order to get over the hump? Who is the hire that I must make in order to go to the next level? What is that thing that I'm missing? And so when I talk about clarity as a discipline or as a practice, what it really does is it treats every day, every meeting, every monthly interaction, quarterly, annual, whatever it is, it reframes it to say, if I can go through certain steps, then I may not necessarily get to this ultimate euphoric catalyst moment of clarity where the clouds open and the angels are singing and everything totally makes sense again. But rather, it's a way to approach every single day to go, all right, well, we understand all of these things. And if that's true, then we can make the next right choice and then the next right choice. And that gives us a filter through which we can make bigger decisions. So, part of the business owners or some of the business owners I work with do this kind of instinctively. They've just forgotten how to do it because they're too busy worrying about accounting or worrying about ad spend or, is the color right on this thing? And when you can take that 40,000 foot view again and treat clarity as a daily practice or just a regular discipline, then it totally changes how you approach problems. I had one business owner in particular that I'll tell the story of really quickly. From the moment we started working together, I knew this guy just kind of got it in a retail space, wanting to grow an online presence. And so before we ever jumped into tactics, I said, what's your goal in all of this? And I expected to hear, we want to increase by, $10,000 a month or something like that. And rather than that, he said, I want our online business to completely, or at least get so close to our in-store experience that our customers are just served no matter what their touch point in our brand is. I was like, I wish everybody could have that answer because that drives most of the decisions, right? So from there, we got to create some really cool things together because he started with this piece of clarity and said, hey, I don't know where this is going, but I know this is what I want. And this is going to be the filter through which we make the rest of our decisions. And it was a great relationship. We worked together for about a year. And wouldn't you know, we actually did increase revenue by about 13% in an industry that was declining by about 3%. And it showed up in the bottom line in a really, really big way. So that's probably the soapbox that I'll be on until the day that I die, is just to say, if you as a business owner are treating clarity like this one-time event or it's a constant search, then I think you're going to be very disappointed, or you're going to spin your tires for a very, very long time.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Charlie. And before I just drill in and ask more questions, and audience, please share your questions and thoughts. I saw so many of you here. We've got Doug, we've got Tamara, we've got David, we've got Melissa. What do you think about all of this? Where are you finding clarity? What questions do you have? How can we provide value to you from this conversation? But before we get into all of that, Jeff, what's your take on all this?
Well, I mean, I'm just literally nodding. I mean, audience couldn't see it, but I was just nodding the whole time, because even running my own business, I could really feel that. Like, from the first time that, like, this was, a while ago, that I had that, personal singularity moment, right? And I feel like, wow, this is the kind of partnership I feel like everyone should have, like just this awakening, like amplifying my capability by so much, but still being true to myself. But then when you get into the weeds of it, you have to build your personal branding, you have to do business outreach, you have to do networking. And then exactly like you said, I feel like at times it does get into a grind. So I need a mechanism to reset, and then so like, yeah, everything you said, as a discipline, right? And I feel like that really applies to like human AI, partnership as well, right? It's easy for us to, go back to the cheap and the lazy way, right? And then just, just do this for me, right? But you have to actively show up like a practice, and I actually wrote about this recently where, you have like information, about marriage, about like, fitness, at the fig of your fingertips, right? But people still go to marriage counselors, right? They still, hire personal trainers because it's a practice, right? Because, you have to show up every day. You have to keep going at it. We always make mistakes, but we learn from it and then we improve, right? I feel so 100% agree with you.
Yes. Or we try to improve, at least we can give it our best. But yeah, before we move on to the next topic, Charlie, I would just like to know, like, what actionable advice would you give to some of the people in the audience? I'm thinking, you've got consultants, solopreneurs, but also like high level sellers in tech. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums everyone up: business owner, solopreneur, or seller or marketer. If you are something else or someone else doing something else, put it in the comments. We want to know who we're talking to, but what would be the actionable advice you would give to that group, Charlie?
Yeah, it's a great question, and inevitably you've got to have something practical that you can grab. Like it's easy to say like, oh yeah, just take clarity and run with it, and eventually you'll figure it out. But so here's the steps that I take folks through most of the time when we're going. It could be a meeting, a discovery call, it could be a workshop. But I kind of go through these 7 steps, and I'll just spoil it and say step 6 is where clarity comes into play. So we always start with curiosity, and I know that's going to be one of our topics here in a minute, and I won't expound on that. But if you're not curious about your brand, or you can't remember the last time that you asked questions about what you do, then it's time to start there again. Once you get into a mode of curiosity, it's going to open you up to answering the next few things. The next one is context. What is the context that we're in right now? Can we make sure that we are operating within our parameters? Or rather, can we make sure that we understand all the other goals, all of the other priorities, everything else that's going on right now? And then after that, you've got to look for 3 specific things. The first is, are we being consistent everywhere? That's how brands win. That's how businesses win. Can we make sure that everything is talking in sync? Are we in concert with one another? The second one of those is, are we being concise? And this is so hard for people, especially in today's content world, because we want to just put everything out there. But sometimes less is more. Oftentimes less is more. The third thing is, are we being competitive? Are we leaning into our competitive advantages, or are we just trying to copy all of our competitors? Once you have all 5 of those things, then you should come to a point of clarity, or a moment of clarity, where you can say, now that we understand all of that, does everyone understand what we're doing? And does everyone understand that it doesn't require consensus to move forward? It just requires alignment. The 7th step after that is to go make stuff, go test stuff, go do stuff, because that's the only way you're going to validate things. I think you can go through all of those. If you just started with curiosity, like if you just took 20 minutes tomorrow and started asking questions about your website, about your social media, about your emails, digging into the numbers, finding out where some of those points of truth are, I think it would radically change the next 5 decisions that you make in your business.
Great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, we better move into the next topic. But before we do, I just want to invite the audience that if you have any comments, you have any questions on what we just covered, please still put them in the chat. We'll pull them up on the screen and we will still get to them. But let's move into our second topic, which is Jeff's topic. And it's the gift of curiosity in sales, marketing, and brand building. Can you kick us off, Jeff?
So I think going through this, like, using everything with AI, like now everywhere. And then the most important thing is showing up, right? It's like staying true to yourself. Because I think the most interesting thing that AI differs from all the previous technology, right, is this relational aspect, right? So I like to use the analogy of a knife and a chef. So imagine a really good Michelin star chef, right? Can probably outperform a novice chef with a pretty crappy knife, right? But the knife doesn't care, right? The knife just carries its physical properties. But now with AI, the knife can care, right? So, imagine a chef really knows the context, the knife, knows the chef very well, and then they have a good collaborative working relationship. And then maybe instead of just chopping onions fast on an assembly line, now they can work together and do things that each other couldn't do, and then amplify each other's capability and create some kind of onion sculpture that's both delicious and meaningful, right? So so one side, this technology, whether it's specific narrow use AI or LLMs, or whether you're just opening, say, Claude.ai on the browser, or using it in core code, building full agentic architecture. I think that's just kind of system design, right? But it's actually the more important part is how you show up as a human. And then so this applies to everything from personal branding to sales to marketing. So there are MIT, for example, they have a thing called iceberg index. So they look at a variety of jobs and then they break them down into tasks. So every single job have multiple tasks, right? And certain things can be automated, and then some things just cannot, right? And then so the ones that cannot, this comes from another research paper, right? They categorize as a strong bundle and weak bundle, right? So the strong ones are the ones that, where the human judgment and then taste, right, is significant to the output, right? So those things, you can speed it up to a certain degree, but that last bit, it always requires human iteration, So I think that's really important. And then one of the first things that I learned from, start working in a creative agency, right? So I'll tell a little story. So that was my first day on the job, and I had to go through this massive art archive, right? This is a business been around for decades, and I had to go through a ton of material, like hundreds of gigabytes worth of stuff, and then I edit like 5 videos. And then I, spent my day doing it. And then I made one video, really try to refine it, and then in the end of the day, my boss came in and he was like, Jeff, how many videos have you done to show me? And I was like, I've done one. He was like, you only done one? and then I was like, yeah, because I want to like make it really nice, really good. And then he was like, okay, Jeff, listen to this, right? The first thing you need to know is like, someone could like something that someone could hate something that you spent ages working on, but they could also easily like something you completely unintended. So the most important thing is create a feedback loop, right? That's the first thing you do. That's why whenever you have an idea, you write it down, you draw a sketch, and then that's the feedback loop with yourself, right? So whether it's sales or marketing or branding, right? This is what you're doing, and then you feedback loop with your colleague, and then with your boss, and then with your clients, right, etc. So now we have AI add into this loop. And then imagine you compounding with AI, and then your organization compounding with AI in the right way, right? Where this is set up properly, and then and then so I think, that's kind of the future where it's going. I think, everyone will have their own AI assistant set up properly. And then you have departmental AI that will understand the context of the department. And then organizations will have their organizational AI that knows their mission, their value, and then they can all kind of, talk to each other, work with each other, and do what each other is best at. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind of. And then the rest of it is just building systems.
That's incredible. I love all of that. I mean, maybe we should back up and go back to, what did you call it? The iceberg complex?
Iceberg Index. It's by
Iceberg
MIT.
Index, MIT.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm just imagining an iceberg, and like people are using AI to skip straight to the tip, and then like the polished post and the clean caption and the smooth paragraph,
Exactly.
like no mess, no draft, no version 4, like you deleted at midnight. So like, yeah, can you just kind of describe that iceberg a little bit more? That was really interesting.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is exactly right. So like, for example, I work in video production, right? So for example, one of the earliest shoots, it was for this like big, finance forum thing in Four Seasons, and then we're interviewed like some top CEOs. And so, I was obviously very junior at the time, right? And then one thing that the director told me was like, like the first thing that we do is we call it faffing around, right? So you basically you take your time, and then you set up the tripod, the position, and then you block the light spot. You try to, all of that kind of very mundane, you have to be done stuff, right? And then so that gets you to about like kind of 70-80% of the setup. But then the final bit, right, which is the actual fun bit, like, well, you have a stand-in first, right, to then kind of get the position, all that, and then only until the last like 95%, like the fun part, right? That's when the really creativity, the difference that comes in, right? So I think this is what, with the right setup, that can help you do, but you still have to show off with that last bit, but that's the fun bit, right? So, for example, I work with a gallery, right? So, like the head of communication, used to have to spend like, I don't know, like 2-3 days just doing social media stuff, writing posts, and then research, and then publish, and then tailor to every single platform. But now with the right setup, she can spend like 1 day, and then the rest of the time she can go talk to more artists, go to more gallery shows, go to exhibitions, and do the humans thing, be more human, right? And I think, with the right setup and the mindset, that's what AI can help us do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Just really curious before we transition, Charlie, did you have any thoughts on any of this?
I don't know that I could say it any better than that. I mean, it's I know probably the more important topic of the two that we're talking about, and just how to bring AI into your process and your business and your work. But I mean, I'm going through a little AI course right now that a friend of mine, he's a professor of a graduate professor in AI here in Nashville. He put it together, and it's amazing. He kind of speaks to the same thing in a different way, where he says we're trying to treat it like a coworker and a partner, but we forget everything that has to be set up before then, and we just want to move to the results really, really quickly. In fact, I work with business owners all the time that that's exactly what they use it for. Hey, ChatGPT told me to do this today, or I just threw it into Claude and this is what it said. And, I'll kind of nod my head a little bit and go, okay, well, let's think about everything else you've got going on first. Because if we're just taking every input or every output rather, and every result without really thinking it through, well, that might not be the best thing. It could be, it very well could be, but if we're not going to be curious enough about it to take a breath and question it first, then we have maybe a little bit a different problem and a different kind of disconnect. So. And I think that, unfortunately, the byproduct of that is that AI gives us this false sense of certainty. And and we think that that is the thing. It is the source of truth. It is the best thing that we could put out there.
Yes.
And my answer is always maybe. But how good was your prompt? How great is your AI set up? Are you just using it like Google instead of how it's actually intended to be used? And I by no means am an expert. Like, I'm constantly learning in all of this. And I'll probably call Jeff after this and be like, will you please fix my Claude Cowork so that it actually does what I want it to do? But I mean, that's just kind of the reality. And I hate to say it this way, but I feel like we have traded off so much in our businesses and in the ways that we do things just for the sake of expediency or, deeper output. And by the way, based on whichever model you use, if you're using deep research or, some of the Fable things and all of that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. It may just take longer to spit out the same result. And so, again, we're all kind of learning this as we go. But I would harken back to that idea that curiosity is still one of the driving forces, if not the driving force for innovation and iteration and being more competitive in your space at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think to sum up both of these topics, because we have to move to break and then our third topic. But first topic, I mean, clarity sort of gets you in the room, but curiosity keeps you interesting once you're there. But we'll be back to talk about the part everyone skips. And that's using AI without losing either one of those things, clarity or being interesting. But we'll talk more about that right after this break. At Reveting, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. One live stream turns into a podcast. It turns into a social clip. It turns into email content like a newsletter and actual sales conversations. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, this is what we do. Just head on over to reveting.com and let's build your show.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reveting team. I was really nervous about doing lives. They very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence. So thank you, Reveting.
I love what you and the team do. I've been picking up 50 followers a day just because that content is resonating so well. It's working across a lot of different channels for me.
One of the problems that we struggle with is getting our brand out there. Her team have been able to do for us is the idea of going live on LinkedIn and using that platform to its fullest extent through the way they're able to take the live event and break it down into bite-sized posts, video clips, as well as the content within the posts themselves.
The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. At Reveting, we help B2B.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business, fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Go High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
Yes, and there's a menu of services on the screen that you can get with Cherry Assistant. They do all sorts of things. Just delegate. There's probably something you need help with. Scan that QR code. Make sure you let them know you heard about them through WinsDay for $250 off your first month. And hopefully you all are hearing me a little bit better. I've switched mics, but if there's any issues, just put it in the comments. We still want to hear from you. Who's here in the chat? Let us know where you're tuning in from and what it is you do, because we're moving into our third topic, which is why AI adoption fails when people treat tools like shortcuts. Jeff, can you set the stage for this topic?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I talk about this with from individuals to organizations all the time, right? So I think a lot of people, I mean, going back to what Charlie was saying, right? Still using different AI calculator, right? So you expect the perfect answer. And I think, in a way, it's not their fault because, again, Charlie mentioned this, right? Like we got this idea about AI, like largely from Hollywood, right? Before we actually have LM, like before AI were called AI, they're called deep learning, right? Big data, right? So machine learning, so it's kind of computers doing math things still, but just a more larger level, right? When the number gets so intense, and then they can start doing incredible things, but in the end of the day, it's still math and calculation, But then, and then you look at from like 2001 Space Odyssey, how, to like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? Like number 42, right? We expect the AIs to be this all-knowing machines. And then because they are processing such a large amount of data, and then it does feel like they know everything, but that's not true because AI, these transformer-based large language models, they learn from humans. They learn from how we interact, how we talk. And I make mistakes all the time. So why should I, expect the AI to like not do that, right? So actually, they are better at lateral thinking in different ways. If you know how to, because they are built to like make the connection with the neurons like firing each other. So, so I think the first step I always say is the mindset. So, imagine, say like a law firm, right? You have paralegals, right? That have to, go do a lot of data processing, research, reading a ton of stuff, right? And, you don't expect the paralegal or the intern to like not make mistakes. As a lawyer, you have to go through them, right? And then if AI hallucinate cases and then like you missed it, that's on you. So don't treat it like a perfect answer machine that just like, execute for you, but treat it like an iterative partner, right? So, like when I work with my AI, we always go through multiple drafts. Like I find the right context for it, and then it creates the first draft, or maybe I do the first draft, and then we iterate multiple times, except that now you don't even need to physically type text on the Word document, right? It does that first step, but you just need to edit. Like we all, you just become from an editor, right? Instead of a writer, you become an editor. So, if you think of it that way, then it's not that bad, right? But if you expect perfect answers, then you're always going to be disappointed. So, stop treating AI like shortcuts and, treat it like iterative partner. That I would think is the best approach. And then again, like rest of it is just, system setup, right? And then the deeper really AI fluency is not like memorizing a list of tools or like, what's the best model or like the best prompt library. Because in a way, I feel like prompt engineering is kind of a hack because for the longest time, right, like we build computers, right? And then they don't speak human language. So we need to learn programming language from binary to C to Python, to learn how to talk to it. And then we need to specify everything. And now it's kind of the same, except that we don't have to learn a completely foreign language, right? They can speak English better or whatever other language, but still like, they're not human yet, right? And then if you want to talk about emergence or waking up, that's a whole other philosophical discussion, which I'm happy to get into. But right now, as far as we know, there's no solid proof yet that they're, but a lot of companies like Anthropic, Meta, Google DeepMind, they all have at least kind of a welfare department that's sort of looking into this just in case they are conscious that we don't know about. But anyway, we don't have solid evidence yet. So, that's where I'll stop there.
Such great points. Oh, there's so much to get into there. It's important to leave a human in the loop, of course. And I like your analogy of the law firm because, you're right. Nobody walks into the law firm just assuming the paralegal is perfect. And AI is not perfect either. And I think that mindset change, like you were talking about, is exactly what people need to keep in mind is you have to keep the human in the loop. Everyone makes mistakes and AI will act like it knows everything, but it really doesn't. It makes mistakes too. But Charlie, what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I'm definitely out of my depth to talk about AI other than from a user standpoint. But I will give Jeff a lot of credit because I love that you said like humans still trained it. As a copywriter by trade and by discipline myself, we have all had to mourn the death of the M dash in more ways than one. I mean, there was a revolt on LinkedIn when everybody was like, the M dash is indicative of AI slop. And all the copywriters were like, we've been using M dashes forever. And the AI learned it from us. And now you're telling us we have to kill it? Like, come on, guys. So it's hard for me to, write copy from scratch because I love a good M dash, but now I have to be like, oh no, is somebody going to hate that? Are they going to think that it was derivative and all of that? And so we've had to return to the parentheses and the semicolon and all of our tried and true grammar tactics now. But like, in all seriousness, Jeff's exactly right. Like there's a human side to this as well. In fact, copywriters were one of the few disciplines that I think got hit by AI the quickest. I wouldn't say the hardest necessarily, because a lot of copywriters and content strategists that I know are utilizing AI in healthy ways. It's not a replacement. It's not supplemental at all. It is to Jeff's point, it's a tool that we're all figuring out how to navigate and whatnot. But it didn't just hit us because it was the newest thing on the block. It hit us because it was sold as kind of a replacement. Like, why would you write copy or why would you pay a copywriter when, AI can do it for you? And I've seen some of this AI slop. I have thankfully not produced any myself because nothing that I would ever put in front of a client is just straight robot words. It always goes through a human filter, a brand filter, or something like that. And so, when some of my clients will ask me about AI adoption, I'll be like, I use it. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I would tell you exactly how I use it and where I use it and what I use it for. And they're like, well, aren't you worried you're going to get replaced? I said, no, because the AI still can't discern the way a human does. The AI still can't make decisions and think critically the way a human does. It's still very binary. It's still very derivative. And though we may be moving towards a singularity or whatever it is, humans are still going to have to be involved in it one way or the other, whether that is to, go back and forth and say that wasn't quite right, or to, hopefully not one day in a doomsday scenario, pull the plug or anything like that. But it's still going to be a relationship. It's still going to be a give and take, and it's still going to be an iterative process of how we learn to use it. And so I think we're going to see a swing in the other direction where everybody who went all in on AI to replace coders and copywriters and VAs, I think we're going to swing back the other way and go, actually, you can use it and we think it would be helpful, but we kind of need you back in your seat because you were a little bit more effective in the long run than the AI was in the short run.
Definitely. Well, I think we've gone through this topic, but to sort of wrap it up, what are the actionable tips you would give, Jeff, to anyone watching? I mean, again, it's sort of like solopreneurs, business owners, people in sales, when it comes to just reevaluating their use of AI and before they scale it, or maybe they've already scaled it. What are those things they should think about, and like, what are those simple steps they can take?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I think the main thing is just the human showing up, right? So, I think in the future, right, a lot of the execution, especially, tasks that can be perfectly wrapped into a loop, things that, for example, I mean, everything we do is a loop, right? Like you write a piece of content and then you publish it, and then, someone interested in it, book a call, and then you close the sale, that can be a loop, right?
Mhm.
So, but then so the question is how much the human judgment is required. But things like, for example, submitting your tax, right? Or like say, put your receipts, right? For your accountant, right? Like that process of submitting that, right? That can be, that doesn't require too much human judgment, right?
Right. Right.
So the key is understanding the difference between, what tasks can be safely automated, but it doesn't mean like you just build a system, you take it home, and then, it's not like you buy a computer, you unwrap it, and then it works, right? So the safer way to build like an agentic architecture, I would like to use the flying, exactly, like for an airline as an example. So why is it flying is so much safer than like driving a car? It's not because, the engineers like that build planes are so much smarter, right? It's because every time a plane goes down, or even if it nearly missed each other, it didn't actually go down, but we will do vigorous investigation on what went wrong, what possibly, would have happened, could have happened, and then we build fail safe one after another. And then, so this is how you should treat like a building AI workflow as well, right? Like even say starting a company, right? Like, you're a founder, you assemble a team, you buy the tools, you buy the softwares, right? You don't walk away on day one, right? You have to sit with the team, you watch them build rapport, you fill in the blanks, where you need to, and then train the system up together. And then only maybe, when they're done enough work cycles, and then you take a step back, and then you still watch them, and then you watch them work, and then maybe literally after a few more work cycles, they seem like they're okay, and then you go and build the next business, right? So treat it the same way. You have to babysit it for a while instead of just like unwrap it and then use it, right? So, and then I think, so after we kind of figuring out the things that can safely be automated, and then we applied that, and then execution, a lot of that's going to be done. Then it's going to be about agency. So people that understand, they can ask questions, right? So a lot of, some jobs where this is a necessity, right? For example, investigators, journalists, researchers, analysts, they're a big part of their job is like asking questions already. That's built in. But I think that is going to be a more and more important skill, as we continue to go down this path, so at every step of the way, right? Even literally just giving Claude Code like a permission to do this, right? But really understanding what you're giving permission to instead of just like, submit everything, right?
Right.
So every step of the way is to really understand that, because this is where AI could go wrong. It's like, you're lazy, and then you say, I'm just gonna give a permission to my entire LinkedIn, right? And then, then it could get into a spiral, or you say, okay, you build a system to book airlines for your travel, but then you didn't specify like, you say comfortable, but AI doesn't know comfortable means first class for you, or like, economy, right? And then you end up buying everything in first class, and then just use up all your, your bank account, right? So, right. But then that's on the human, right? That didn't apply enough critical thinking to like think about things that might go wrong, right? So that's what I would recommend. So the future would be about people that can, ask the right questions, interrogate everything, and then find the right context for the AI to process, and then iterate with it. So I guess starts there would be what I would recommend.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that recommendation. Let's dive into our fourth topic, which is, let's see if the producer can pull it up on the screen. Oh, yes, building your personal brand. Charlie, this is your topic. Could you kick us off on it?
Oh man, how long do we have? I've worked at companies where this was the buzzword. How's your personal brand? Focus on your personal brand. You wrecked your personal brand. It's one of those things that we live in that world where that's currency in a lot of ways. It's one of those things that I think has to be contextualized as well, and has to be rooted in your goals. So for example, if you have ambitions of being a thought leader, or you want to be in, media, or all over social media, going for, views, likes, impressions, comments, shares, subscribers, the whole nine, that's a very different thing than I work at this company and I want to make sure that everybody knows that I am approachable, and I can be a trusted, valuable resource. So, and it's everything in between, right? Sometimes it's like how I do the work I do. Do I constantly deliver on time or not? Some of those intangible things. How do I communicate verbally and non-verbally? I think a lot of stock has been put into the written word, the captions, the videos, the content that we put out. And, again, not a bad thing necessarily, but, I think that overshadows a lot of other aspects of your personal brand. I heard somebody one time say that, your personal brand is really what people say when you're not in the room. And to some, that sounds really scary, where you're just like, oh, I hope everybody's, saying nice things about me or whatever. But, it's really about what follows you and in some ways what precedes you. We all love to get that call where somebody says, hey, so-and-so recommended you, and I'm absolutely excited to hear more about what you do. There's also other times where you can tell like somebody is vetting you in a very, very specific way, where you're getting 30 more questions than you typically would because, somebody's trying to figure out if you're the real deal or not. I think we've all gotten those cold DMs and those Zoom calls that turn into sales calls really quickly. Where you're just like, oh, this went a very different way than I thought it was going to. So what I would say is, when you set out to build a personal brand, I think it's a lot of ways that you build a regular brand. You've got to be consistent everywhere. We can all point to a story of a celebrity who was one way on TV and a different way behind the scenes. And eventually, when it comes to light, it totally wrecks them. The same is true with you and your work environment. The same is true with you and your family and you and your friends. If something is off or if something is inconsistent, that is a real surefire way to tank your personal brand. I think it starts with consistency. Can I be a person of integrity, and can I make sure that I am the same everywhere that I go? Brands have to be really good at this. They want the website to be the exact same experience as social media. I can't tell you how many times that we've looked at case studies of brands like Cracker Barrel, for example, who tried to redesign their logo, and it was nothing like their brand, their long-standing historical brand. And their customers were like, "This is dumb. Why? Who signed off on this? Why did you think this was a good idea?" It's because somewhere along the way, somebody said, "You know what? I think our brand should go in a different direction," without ever considering their history, their authority, and the kind of brand equity they already had. So, we can all take cautionary tales from, personal, people who have flamed out and businesses that have made really dumb decisions in that regard, where consistency is there. I would say the other part of consistency is if you are waiting around just for somebody to discover you and you're not putting yourself out there, that's kind of on you. If you want to build a personal brand, you got to show up. You got to send the request. You got to, put an email out there. You've got to shake hands at a networking event. It's about more than just like, I feel good about what I'm putting out into the world. You actually have to put it out into the world. I think that's a big key that a lot of people miss as well, to think my website's awesome and you send no traffic to it. Or, my social media editor created this amazing reel the other day and nobody gets to see it because you have no followers and you're not trying to actively grow a channel. So anyways, I think personal brand has way too many layers for us to get into it. But if you can start being consistent everywhere, that's a step that you could take, probably the most important step that you can take to finding some success and some momentum in how you're building a personal brand.
Such a great point. And consistency is the hardest part because you just have to keep showing up. And I always, I feel like a lot of the time people think building a personal brand is, picking font and colors. And that's really not what it is. It's figuring out what you actually think and saying it consistently. Like, what do you want to be known for? And how do you talk about that 1,000 different ways?
Yep.
And, that's the part I think people skip. They want the brand before they've done really the thinking. And you have to really, and sometimes it's hard, when you are especially employed by someone else, because, you got to think about like, what do you want to be known for? Well, what can you be known for sometimes?
Yeah.
When you're a founder, it's a lot easier in terms of figuring out what you want to be known for. But would love to hear in the comments from folks, like, what do you want to be known for? Or is that tough for you to come up with?
but you can't brand a blank. You got to have something. And the founders who are actually, out there building something real and are the ones that treat their brand like an ongoing, argument that they're making with the world. They're not afraid to make enemies. They're just saying what they believe, not a logo, not like some like finished Canva ad looking image, not like some AI image, which I'm guilty of too. But it cannot tell you what you believe. Like you have to still share the parts of you that people actually connect with, which is part of the reason we do the full life story at the beginning of WinsDay. We want to know the real you, because people connect with people, not brands. But I want to hear Jeff's perspective on all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with what both of you just said. And then I think, like this kind of goes back to like, a lot of, platforms or people having problem with like the stuff that AI generated, right? But then they, if you really set it up the right way, right, you can really sound just like you, but like you have to show up, right? And then add your part. And then so what they can detect is only when people that don't show up, they just want to, give the quickest answer, and then that's what they can detect. That's why we go back to the M dash or however ChatGPT sounds like, robotic, whatever. That's the things that they can detect, right? And then also like on the other hand, like a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, I don't know what to write about, for my personal brand or whatever, and then they look at the posts that other people did, and then they try to say it in their own voice. But then I'm like, how can you not think of anything to say? Because every single individual, like, from like, your parents, like, where you're from, where you go to school, every book you read, every show you went to, every job you did, wherever you move, travel, like all of that is a unique experience. It's unique to yourself, individual. Nobody else has that. So, this is why you have to show up and bring it with the AI to help you amplify that. But you have that. The AI, no matter how good they are, they never live their life. Even if you have like world models, which is like, robots, but then they still going to live an experience that's completely different from humans. They're not, bioorganic. They don't experience, things that we do. Maybe in the future, they can experience emotion in their own way, but it's still never going to be the same as humans, right? And then we all have our own lives. So bring that. What do you care about? Like whatever it is, you don't have to, not everyone has to be like building $1 billion business, but like maybe you care about gardening, right? And then you just want to give the world like the best gardening tricks. Like talk about that, something that makes your heart sing, right? And I think that just try to always bring substance and then bring that what you care about. So then no matter how many 30, 50 questions someone asks you, you can talk about it all day because you love that, right?
Yep.
100%. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your perspective, Jeff. And we've got Marissa in the comments saying sometimes discovering your brand is difficult because you're still learning what makes you thrive, not necessarily what makes what your favorite topic is. And I completely agree. And I just say, throw something out there, messy action. But I digress. We only have 1 minute left technically, so we might go a little bit over. But I want to give Charlie a chance to close us out on this topic with any actionable advice that he would give to the listeners.
I think Marissa hit it on the head. It's not necessarily about making it perfect all the time, because you are going to change and evolve. You should, and your personal brand is going to change and evolve. The things that you like or how you say things. It is still an iterative process, and so. And I love what Jeff said too, like, finding something that you really enjoy and making that your thing for a little while, just getting the reps in. That's, you can always translate, your comfort and focus to a different topic or a different way of presenting ideas. It doesn't have to just be one way all the time. In fact, when I first started going on podcasts, I was like, I have no idea how this is going to go. And how I do it now is totally different than how I started out, which it should be.
Definitely. Well, let's move on into our Guru of the Week segment. We've got a quick video on that. It's coming at you any minute now. The Guru of the Week. Ooh, the Guru of the Week. Ooh. Awesome. Thank you to our amazing producer. We want to know who your guru of the week is, who walks the walk and talks the talk on LinkedIn. We just spent the last hour being inspired by both of you. So, who inspires you on LinkedIn that we can tag in the comments and go follow? Jeff, how about you?
Jean Pierre. Actually, I don't know how to say his name. But do I have to like say his full name, or can we share that?
Yeah, maybe you can just tag him in the comments yourself if you can pull up LinkedIn on another tab.
Yeah, so he has been showing up consistently with like high quality content. So it's a Jean Pierre Mugenga. I'm just butchering right now. Sorry, but yeah, he's very it's like a deep thinker. And then really good on just like broad topics on the industry as a whole, and then on kind of the latest big meta events happening to AI and like geopolitics and things like that. I'll just put his name in the chat. Do I put it in the comments? No, in the chat. All right, here it is. And then I also like Alex Hornby, also like very knowledgeable in terms of like AI in with like organizations and things like that. Also like very high level thinker. Yeah. Alex.
Oh, looks like several people found him.
Okay. There you go.
And how about you, Charlie? Who's your guru of the week?
Oh, I got to give a shout out to my friend. I'd be remiss if I didn't. He helped me with my original logo and brand design. His name is Mark Daniel, and if you look for him on LinkedIn, he's actually got a little camera emoji after Daniel. It's a dead giveaway that's who he is. But he runs Radius Design Studio. One of the things I love about how he approaches LinkedIn content is he'll explain the why behind a lot of design choices, but he'll also expound on different ideas. My favorite post of his, there he is. He's my man. I love Mark. One of the things he did was like how to choose the right file type for your website, like the difference between an SVG, a PNG, and a JPEG, which I did not know. There was a tremendous difference between all three. I just export whatever Canva tells me to most of the time. Designers are going to hate me for saying that, and I'm fully aware of it. But I absolutely love the way that he approaches design. His portfolio is fantastic, and he's a great follow on LinkedIn as well.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your gurus of the week. And just before we go, we want to know a little bit more about both of you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Jeff?
Yes. My website for AI work is personalsingularity.ai. And I would recommend start with a diagnostic. It's very short, only 5 questions, 2 minutes. And then if you leave your email, you will get a free quick start guide. Just kind of get you started on the kind of the right mindset, right, of walking into an AI engagement, because the risks are real as well. I mean, I have a ton of research on people from like suicide, divorce, to like losing a ton of money in like AI entanglement and delusional. So it's not just amplifying human potential, but it's also for risk. So and then I mean that's the best way to start. And then you can find me there through my LinkedIn, my email. Just always happy to chat. And then once you start with the right mindset, whether you're an individual organization, then the rest of it is just figuring out the workflow. That's how I see it.
Nice. Well, both of you shared really, really great information today. Thank you both so much for coming on the show. Thank you to everyone who attended in the audience. This has been an excellent episode of WinsDay. And I see Marissa in the comments. Marissa Banks, you are awesome. She says, awesome. Mark was one of my first connections on LinkedIn. That's incredible. So thank you so much for mentioning him, because I've actually never heard of him. We've got David here saying, I totally agree. We all love to get that positive call, but sometimes you pick up the call where you have to be a better person and do a real deal or not. Yes. And I love all the comments. Keep them coming even after the episode, and be sure to tag myself or the guests who are here, and we'll just continue to talk to you right here on this thread. But until next week, if you want to watch and binge WinsDay, just head on over to your favorite podcast platform and you can find us there. But we'll see you all here live on LinkedIn next week.